From times immemorial, matter has been a thing of the greatest mystery, which religion and philosophy have tried more or less unsuccessfully to explain. Most religions of days gone by and those in use until now qualify matter as transitory, temporal, contradistinct to the permanency of spirit. They call it a veil, dream, illusion, dust, etc. Some religious movements absolutely refuse to acknowledge the existence of matter. Their teachings are based on its complete denial. They call matter error, evil. Yet religions have never been able to explain matter in a satisfactory way. After all, it was not their province to do so. It is only science, especially modern material science, which has been able to explain what matter really is. Matter is called by the Hindus, Maya, the great illusion. Why? Because seemingly we can never take hold of it. As soon as we think that we have hold of matter, it eludes us. It is of all things the most elusive that we know. Matter appears to us usually in three distinct aspects: solid, liquid, and gaseous form, due to different traits of vibrations. Certain manifestations of it commonly assume a solid aspect, such as stones, metals, wood, etc. Some are liquid, such as water, mercury, etc. Some are gaseous form, such as vapors, air, and different gases. But each of these material things may also be obtained in the two other aspects, if their rate of vibration is changed. For example, let us take ice. When a piece of ice is placed in a warm atmosphere, it melts. Thus we have the first transformation of matter. From solid it becomes liquid. Ice becomes water. If the temperature is raised to a still further degree, the water evaporates, becomes steam. Another transformation, liquid taking a gaseous form. And steam is found to consist of molecules of water. Through disintegration of the molecule of water are discovered the atoms of the original gases, hydrogen and oxygen, the combination of which, in a certain chemical proportion H20 form that molecule. Now an atom is such a small particle of matter that it requires about 500 millions of them placed side by side to cover a linear inch. In breaking up the atom are finally found electrons. The electron is the smallest division of matter which science has been able to obtain for the time being. The size of an electron compared to that of an atom is as our Earth in comparison with the whole solar system. What is an electron? An electron is a tiny sphere which is rotating with extraordinary velocity on its own axis, and then revolving at a speed of about 10,000 miles per second around another microscopic sphere which acts as a central sun. They are kept in that relation by the universal law of attraction, just like our planetary system in particular and like the universe in general. It is, on a small scale, what we see there on a large scale. There are positive and negative electrons. The negative electrons are revolving around a central positive electron. It is the aggregation of these electrons in their revolutions around the central electron which constitutes the atom. And the relation of those electrons one to another, and their number in the atom of the analyzed element, determines its nature. The greater the number of electrons in an atom of matter, the stronger and heavier is the material element. The hydrogen atom, because it consists of one positive electron around which is revolving one negative electron, is accepted by the scientists of today as the standard atomic weight, this weight being taken as I. The analysis of the nature of the electron shows it to be radioactive, continually releasing energy. Why? Because energy is the basis of the electron. In other words, the electron is made of condensed energy. Energy is force. Then what conclusion can be drawn? That the so-called material things are but condensed forces, which are the most immaterial things that one can imagine. Material science was therefore able, through investigation, to prove the absolute non-existence of matter as matter, in the generally accepted meaning of that word. It showed that everything is but forces of different rates of vibration, in various combinations and relations one to another, and in different degrees of condensation. This evidence is so convincing because it is scientific and it can be proven. It works invariably. For example, the diamond is supposed to be the hardest stone known on Earth. Its hardness is standard. It is 10. Next comes the corundum ruby, sapphire. Its hardness is 9. They are both precious stones because they are made of a great deal of condensed energy. Sandstone has only the hardness of about 3. Now if the amount of energy contained in the diamond were released, it would be found to exceed the amount of energy contained in the same volume of sandstone in exact proportion as the hardness of the diamond exceeds that of sandstone. According to calculations made by some modern scientists, calculations based on scientific experiments, there is enough energy condensed in 1 ounce of matter, which, if suddenly released, would lift all the German ships sunk during the Great War from the bottom of the sea to the top of Mt. Everest, the highest mountain on Earth. Also, each human being has in his little finger enough condensed force to run for several minutes all the trains in England, representing many thousands of horsepower. This shows what tremendous powers and forces are latent in us, waiting to be manifested and to be made proper use of. There are some metals which are called precious, and others which are called common. This is again the same thing. Precious metals are precious because they have so much condensed energy within them that they can resist the disintegrating influence of the air. Gold is one of the metals which possesses this power. Common metals, because they have in themselves less condensed energy, cannot resist those influences as easily as gold, platinum, iridium, palladium and other precious metals, and they oxidize, that is, disintegrate, die. The amount of condensed energy in an element determines its preciousness, its real value. A diamond is precious not only because it is beautiful and rare, but especially because it has a real value from the point of view of its absolute superiority over other elements, on account of the greater presence of forces in it. And as it is with precious stones and metals, so it is with human beings. Those individuals who are called noble because of their noble character really express their life forces on a higher plane, in stronger, higher vibrations than others, and are therefore more powerful, and consequently more valuable to humanity. The word noble in this instance is used in the sense of soul qualities and not as class distinction. It is evident that such investigations by material science explain matter completely. Humanity owes that to the perseverance of the material scientists who were not afraid to use their own material means in order to disintegrate the very elements on which they were working. When one knows the laws which govern the so-called material phenomena, the present concept of matter is done away with entirely. That is because of the law and not because of one's affirmation that there is no matter. The negation of matter will not destroy matter. That is why the success of mental healing does not depend on the negation of matter, but on something entirely different. There are laws which are put in operation most of the time absolutely unconsciously by those who think that they bring forth results because they denied matter. For example, let us take electric light. One can for 1,000 years deny that it is shining, and still it will shine. But if one knows that there is a switch, that switch can be turned off and the light will not shine anymore and it will be dark. There the physical law was made proper use of and it did work to obtain the desired result. The following scientific definition of matter will clearly show what matter really is. What is called matter is but the consciousness of effects produced on the senses by various manifestations of primal energy. Therefore, matter is only a state of consciousness, the present manner in which those effects are perceived. This proposition explains matter completely. What then do we feel? What do we see? What do we perceive with our senses? Energy, forces, nothing but forces. Vibratory waves of energy striking the senses produce certain impressions, and those impressions we call sensations. When we have one kind of vibrations, we feel it as touch, another kind we see, another we hear, another we smell, or another we taste. We say we perceive the thing materially, but in reality there is nothing material about it. It is all vibration. The question may be asked, how has the electron originated and why is it a sphere? Primal universal energy has two fundamental qualities, motion and attraction. Motion in its turn expresses itself in two distinct kinds of movement. One, the rotary centripetal movement. The other, the propulsory centrifugal movement. That is seen throughout the whole universe, therefore also in our own solar system. There is this planet, the Earth, rotating on its own axis and moving continually forward, but by the sun's attraction kept circling around it. The rotary movement is expressed in the rotation of the Earth on its own axis. The forward movement is seen in the Earth's revolutions about the sun. On a larger scale, our whole solar system turns around itself, and besides that moves forward at the speed of about 1 million miles per 24 hours towards the constellation of Lyra. It moves in a seemingly straight line, but in reality not in a straight line. It revolves around a central sun which has not yet been discovered by the astronomers, because it is so far away. There is no end to those ever-increasing orbits, because the universe is endless. And when we come down to the smallest things, we find the same law governing them. The electrons of which the atom is constituted, rotating on their own little axes, express the first movement of primal energy, and in revolving around their tiny sun they express the second movement. Now the first rotary movement is a condensatory one. When individual units of vibrations of primal energy begin to rotate around their own little axes, their inherent quality of attraction makes them condense into electrons. These electrons take the form of spheres, because a sphere is a perfectly balanced body, which can remain in that condition indefinitely, as all its constituent parts are in perfect relation one to another. For that reason, physical bodies, in order to persevere in existence, take in nature that simple and lasting form. On that principle is built the whole universe. Out of a nebula which began to move and condense and revolve around its own axis, was formed this solar system. All other systems were formed in the same way, and the little atom and electron are formed according to the same law, because there is only one universal law, called the Great Law, which pervades and governs everything in the same way, no matter if it is a star or if it is an electron. The electrons originated because of that first movement, the rotary condensatory movement of primal energy. These laws pervade everything and are continually operating also in our own bodies, and the knowledge of them enables us to work out problems in our life with mathematical accuracy. Our body is an aggregation of forces in different degrees of condensation. Therefore, it is a dynamic center, of which we are the rightful master. The visible universe is made up of invisible, primal energy. That which is seen is made up of things unseen. Almost everybody knows something about explosives. They are a very good illustration of how seemingly solid material things are in reality made of immaterial elements. Take a piece of dynamite. It is hard, has weight and density, etc. In striking that piece of dynamite, energy is used and produces certain vibrations which alter the relations of the atoms within so that the dynamite explodes. That is, some energy is released and we have dynamite transformed into gases. It is a chemical reaction which takes place by shock. There is no need to pour any chemical on the dynamite in order to produce an explosion. To strike, that is, to use energy, is sufficient. Energy makes the reaction, and what is obtained from that reaction? Perhaps thousands of times the volume of the original piece of dynamite. It is obtained in gases. It has entirely changed. Compared with the first thing which was handled, it is seemingly very immaterial. Of course, the gases are also material, as one can weigh gases, smell them, etc. Yet there is already a tremendous change. That shows how matter, when handled in a certain way, entirely changes its aspect and becomes a different thing, so that when it reaches its last hiding place in energy, no one can call it material anymore. It is then pure force. Everything in this seemingly material universe is but a combination of forces, in condensed and non-condensed conditions. In other words, the whole universe is but an infinite, dynamic center, which is, on a tremendous scale, the same as our bodies are on a small scale. The great law of attraction governs the whole universe and is the basis of eternal harmony. When analyzing primal energy, it was explained that it has a basic quality, attraction, and that this quality of attraction makes possible the existence of the whole universe, as everything in this universe is kept in perfect relation through the law of attraction. Attraction and love are synonymous. Love is the emotional name for attraction. Because of the law of attraction, all the minute particles in everything are holding together and make up a whole. Why have we a body which we can touch and which has a form? Because of the law of attraction, which is keeping the cells together. The same is true of stone or of anything else. Why do we remain on the surface of the earth and are not thrown into space during its rotation around its axis? Because of the law of attraction. Why does the earth revolve around the sun? Because of the law of attraction. Without it, the earth would be lost in infinite space. Why do all the celestial bodies move in such a harmonious way? Because of the law of attraction. This law of attraction is a basic law, a fundamental quality of primal energy. And here we have an explanation of the words in the Bible. In him we live and move and have our being. As it was previously stated, attraction and love are synonymous. When we love, we are attracted. When we hate, we are repelled. It is the law of attraction which enables universal harmony to remain harmony, because without attraction, everything would become chaos, and the universe would collapse. It is that sustaining power referred to in the explanation of the word principle which makes it possible for the universe to be eternally existing. Space which separates the worlds one from another does not isolate them. They are kept in perpetual communication one with another through the great law of attraction, which is exercised instantaneously and eternally throughout all space, and thus forms indissoluble links between the worlds. First must be explained the difference between the word world and the word universe, for there is a great difference between these two words. There is but one universe. The word itself states it. This one universe is made up of infinite numbers of worlds. What is called by astronomers a world is all that which can be seen through the telescope, and even much more than what can be actually perceived. All the seemingly infinite agglomeration of stars, suns, and planets extending in all directions, some of these stars being so far away from the Earth that their light takes millions of years to reach us, although light speeds through space at a rate of about 186,000 miles per second, constitutes this world. Many stars do not exist anymore, yet we see them because their light is reaching us only now. It is impossible, in our present mental development, to realize the stupendous size of this world. Yet what we see around us, seemingly infinite as it appears to be, is finite and has an end. And when we come to what we would call the limit of this world, we would see the following picture. On one side, myriads and myriads of stars, the Milky Way, beautiful combinations of lights, etc., which, all taken together, would appear as an infinitely large sphere. And on the other side, utter darkness, darkness so complete, so terrible, that here on earth we could have no idea of it. It seems to be void of everything, dead. And if we would travel through that darkness, where not a star is shining, even no vibration of the ether perceptible, for a seemingly endless time and through immeasurable space, we would again come to another world, to a different agglomeration of what would appear to be another infinite number of stars and suns and planets. That would be another world, and that world, taken as a whole, is again a sphere, a gigantic sphere floating in that endless ocean of seeming voidness, seeming darkness, and that endless ocean, which has no limit, with those floating spheres in it, which are the worlds, that is this universe. And that universe, boundless, infinite, is the only child, the only son ever born of the one God, of the one great principle, the Absolute. When we visualize divinity from the point of view even of astronomy, we have such a gigantic, overwhelming concept of what the great principle is that all religious ideas of it are nothing but pale, limited thoughts, because they can never give us, as science does, that wonderful proof of the greatness of God, that great one, called the Absolute, who is our Father. Our Earth is a beautiful star floating in that infinite ocean, the universe. The law of attraction, a basic law of universal energy, pervades the whole universe. Even in that void space, where there is seemingly nothing, where even the visible light vibrations cannot penetrate because they are too dense and are therefore circumscribed to their respective worlds, there the law of attraction, of love, is still operating. That law cannot be avoided. There is nowhere in the universe a place where attraction, or love, does not exist. And love is an aspect of divinity, the highest we know of now. These scientific statements correspond exactly to the words of the psalmist. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning, and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. The law of love, the law of attraction, pervades the seeming voidness of interstellar space and is exercised instantaneously and eternally, because time and space do not exist for that law. It is just as infinite as infinity and eternity. And the law of attraction is the great bond of love uniting the worlds, the bond which humanity has always consciously or unconsciously recognized, because it is a universal law. Why do human beings congregate and form communities, cities, countries and nations? Why is it that we like to league ourselves together, to have brotherhoods, societies, unions? Because of that law. All the worlds and all the stars are brothers. So are we all brothers. And if the worlds are placed in that relation one to another, and the law of attraction is functioning so perfectly there, why should it not be also consciously exercised among us human beings? That would be the fulfilling of the law of L0V. Our eternal privilege and duty. Scientists now realize the infinite possibilities opened by that law of attraction, and they try to communicate, through vibrations, with the different planets, because they know that vibrations will reach anywhere. These are the indissoluble links between the worlds, formed by the vibrations of attraction, the basis of universal harmony. Therefore, these worlds, these stars and planets, which seem to be isolated, are in reality not isolated, and form one great, perfect, eternal whole. They are no more isolated one from another than are the cells in our bodies. All is complete unity, and we ourselves are also not separate bodies as we appear to be. We are parts of the one great universal body, united and held together by the law of attraction. Energy is indestructible, therefore eternal. Substance is indestructible, therefore eternal. The universe is indestructible, therefore eternal. The soul is indestructible, therefore eternal. Energy is indestructible, therefore eternal. Primal energy, being the basis of everything, is indestructible. That was explained in the first lesson. It cannot disperse itself anywhere because it pervades infinite space, is one with it. There is nothing which can destroy it because it is all there is, and once it is indestructible, it must be eternal because it must remain in that condition forever. It has always existed and always will be existing. Substance is indestructible, therefore eternal. What is substance? What is the difference between substance and matter? Substance and matter are two very different things. Matter is a phenomenon, a condition of continual changes, elusive, mutable. Substance is, on the contrary, a noumenon, something stable, permanent. The word substance itself expresses it. It means something which underlies, stands under as a foundation, from the Latin word substare, to stand under, support. Substance is the first condensation of primal energy, due to its rotary movement. There is the free energy and the so-called condensed energy, and from the combination of these two is formed everything which exists. Substance being made of an indestructible, eternal element, primal energy is just as indestructible and eternal as the latter. First there is the unmanifest, the causeless cause, the great principle, the absolute called God. Its first manifestation is primal energy. Primal energy becomes in turn a cause by itself. Its direct manifestation is substance, which is the underlying basic element from which the whole universe is made. Substance is therefore universal. Being a noumenon, it is immutable, but expresses itself in infinitely varied and continually changing phenomena. The universe is indestructible, therefore eternal. The universe is an infinite and eternal structure, conceived in the creative imagination of its great architect, cosmic intelligence, reared out of substance through the agency of free energy, and indissolubly cemented by the immutable law of attraction. All these elements which contribute to its existence being indestructible, the universe itself is indestructible, therefore eternal. The soul is indestructible, therefore eternal. Finally, we have the soul, indestructible, therefore eternal. At first the question may arise, what is a soul? Is there a soul, and can it be proven that there is a soul? It can, by logical deductions. What is a soul? The souls of everything, be it man, animal, plant, mineral, or gas, are those self-projections into substance of the unmanifest, eternally proceeding from the great principle, the absolute, ranging from the most simple to the most complex, and culminating in those individualized, conscious, compound projections called men. The soul creates channels through which to express its activities. These channels have certain definite forms, and an aggregation of them is called a body. The plane on which the soul is functioning, be it the physical, the mental, or the spiritual, determines the appearance of the body and the elements of which it is formed. In other words, the body is the direct result, the proof, of the soul's existence. But the body dies. What then happens to the soul? Does the soul also disintegrate, die? No. The body is nothing but an effect, the soul being the cause. Therefore, the destruction of the effect can in no way impair the cause. One body destroyed, the soul builds up another body, always of a stronger, better material, until it reaches a stage where its body is made of indestructible elements. Such a body becomes then eternal, because it is indestructible. Therefore, the death of the body does not mean the annihilation of the soul, for the soul cannot die, nor can it ever be lost. But the sense of the soul can be lost, and when that sense of the soul is lost, then happens what is called in the Apocalypse, the second death, which means that the unit called a soul is thrown back into the very deepest plane of involution, from where it has to start all over again the millions of years of experience until it reaches once more the stage in which it lost the sense of its own existence. Each one of us, in our present state of evolution, is the product of millions and millions of years of hard, very hard work. We have been through such experiences that if most of us could consciously remember our past, it would become one of the greatest curses humanity could have, because we would be so weighed down by the remembrance of these experiences. Fortunately, we have it now behind us. Divine wisdom has covered that sad past with a veil of forgetfulness. Otherwise, life on earth with all its efforts, aims and endeavors would become almost impossible on account of remorse for that past. In each successive incarnation, it is given to men to start their lives anew. The soul is individual. We have a great number of personalities within ourselves as remnants of past incarnations, but we have only one individuality, the individual being compared to the note in music or the number in mathematics. That is our individuality, our eternal identity. Man is individual. Personality is but the human concept which we have for the time being of our own self, and our present personality is made up of many personalities. The basis of man's existence and identity is the soul. The body is but a transitory condition or expression of the soul's present activities. Therefore, as the activities of the soul change, so does the body change also. In this proposition we have something basic, fundamental, the soul. That is, the direct emanation of the great principle, the absolute, of divinity, conscious and perfect in every way, its image and likeness. The question may be asked, is there an infinite number of souls? Yes, there is. Because, even if each soul manifests the completeness of the absolute, the perfect image and likeness of which is represented in it, the infinity of the great all can only be represented by infinite number of souls that make up that great all, as in their infinite number. They stand for the infinity of the absolute. Each soul is identical with divinity in quality, not in quantity. But taken all together, they are identical with the great principle also in quantity, and thus constitute the great compound soul of the universe. It is a law which is continually expressing itself in nature. For instance, take a solution of salt, or any other crystallized chemical, and when that solution is saturated and crystallization begins, it crystallizes in thousands and thousands of small crystals. What is the law back of it? The solution is full of energy, manifested in vibrations going in different directions. There are a great many of those vibrations, each unit of which individually expresses itself through the chemical elements in the form of a small crystal. All the crystals together representing the quantity of the solution, and each crystal having also all the qualities of that solution. Nature works in this way, and nature always expresses itself exactly according to universal laws, manifested in that ordinary experiment with the solution of any salt. The same law also governs the relation of souls to their primary cause, the great principle. The soul, therefore, is that which stands as the basis of our existence, of our life, of our identity and individuality. Individuality is in the soul. Bark soul has from eternity its own fixed identity which no other soul can have. Never two souls alike, never two lives alike. Bark has its own place in the universe. When the soul has found that place, it will keep it for eternity. That is why the basis of man's existence and identity is the soul. What is the body? The soul lacks. Its qualities, its forces, are expressing themselves through its activities, and the aggregate manifestations of those activities, outwardly outlined, form a body. Body does not mean only a material form. It may be a mental, a spiritual body. It depends on the plane on which the soul expresses its activities. What do the eyes stand for? They stand for perception. We perceive, we see through the eyes. What do the ears express? They express discrimination. Each part of our body expresses a certain activity of the soul, the heart, emotion, the brain, capacity to think, to coordinate, or the governing power, the shoulders, power to bear responsibilities, the feet, the foundations on which we stand, the legs, the power to move forward, to advance, the hands, the power to act, etc. The body is but a transitory condition or expression of the soul's present activities. When the activities of the soul change, the body also will be modified according to the changed activities of the soul. Human beings of today are said to belong to the fifth race. Its emblem is the pentagram, the five-pointed star. That is why we are now expressing, manifesting, the number 5. We have 5 fingers, 5 senses, etc. The previous race, in whom the activities of the soul were less developed, were supposed to have only 4 senses, perhaps only 4 fingers. 4 was their dominant number. The next race, the 6th race, will have 6 senses. It will manifest, express the number 6. Their bodies will be modified according to their soul's activities. Its emblem will be the 6-pointed star, the star of wisdom, where the 2 principles, the male and female, combine in one. It is a scientific fact that the body is renewed periodically. Every 7 years, some authorities say 3. Others every year each part is made new. Tissues, bones, etc. Why is there this divergence of opinions? Because some individuals whose vibrations are slow renew their bodies slowly. Those whose vibrations are rapid renew them quickly. Their vibrations are higher and therefore their change is much quicker. They can renew in 3, perhaps in 2 years, or even in 1 year. That renewal is all due to the activities of the soul. In that first proposition, the material body, our present body, does not enter yet as a separate concept. It refers in general to a body. We shall always have some kind of a body. The soul must have a body, because that is the outward manifestation of its inner qualities. What form the body will take we do not know now, but it certainly will have a form, and always a more and more beautiful, a more advanced form. Everything has a form. Form is a quality of the soul. Therefore bodies will always have some form. On the higher planes, where the activities of the soul have finer elements through which to express themselves, the bodies continually change in their appearance. Those whose eyes are trained to perceive the life vibrations of the body, called the aura, know that the color and the force of the aura change all the time. When we have one kind of thought or emotion, the aura is one color. With another kind, another color. All due to the activities of the soul.